Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Working towards a weekend. I hope that work week is in the rearview mirror. If it's not, we'll get you to the finish line here. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And we got a lot to do. We always talk to Preston Guy about LSU football on Fridays. We'll do that in 15 minutes. Basketball transfer portal news. Not the kind you're expecting. We'll do a little bit of that. There is a phenomenon right now in the world of professional sports that you're probably not aware of that I'm going to bring your attention to because it's unbelievable. We'll do that a little bit later on. Dylan Jones, LSU running back from Wisconsin, met with the media yesterday. We'll hear a little bit from him. Travis L. Brown covers Texas A&M. He will be with us at 2:15 as the Aggies are in Baton Rouge for a 3-game set at Alex Box Stadium. That's where we're going to start with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
We turn and head for home. 15 games left in the Southeastern Conference schedule. LSU and Texas A&M get things started a little bit earlier tonight, 6 o'clock over at Alex Box Stadium. You know, this weekend feels so much different than last weekend on Friday morning into Friday afternoon for me and for LSU. That's two reasons. One, you're in a different spot. You were 6-6 this time last week. You're 6-9 now. And this weekend is entirely different from a matchup perspective than last weekend. One, you were on the road last weekend. You're at home this weekend. Two, Ole Miss's offense has not been very good this year. Been kind of one-dimensional, inconsistent, at times anemic. Their pitching is ridiculously talented. And so I told you this time last week, like, okay, you're going to need to strike these guys out. You're going to need to hold the bats down because you're probably not going to score a ton on these arms. You really need to win Friday against Hunter Elliott because Cade Townsend's coming on Sunday and Taylor Rabe on Saturday, and Taylor Rabe's coming on Sunday, and they've got a couple guys out of the bullpen led by hooks that are really difficult. And, like, it's really important to win Friday, and you got to try to hold the Ole Miss bats down, which most teams have done, and win some low-scoring games. That was last week. This weekend, not like that at all. This Texas A&M lineup, y'all, is going to hit. And they're going to hit when they show up at the box, period. They have hit against everybody. Texas has among the best pitching staffs in the nation, and A&M tagged them all around Bluebell Park last week. You're talking about an A&M team, offensively, that leads these are in conference games, mind you, not the whole season, in conference games. 15 conference games for everybody, 14 for them in Texas, which I'll get to in a second, but it's even more impressive when you look at these numbers and they're missing a league game. They lead the SEC in conference games in batting average, 288 as a team. They lead the SEC in runs scored while missing a game, mind you. They're at 138. What's second place? 113. That's 35 runs more than second place in league games, and they're missing a game. They lead the SEC in doubles. They lead the SEC in slugging percentage by 87 points. They lead the SEC in walks. That's a huge issue for LSU on the pitching staff. They strike out the fewest times in the SEC. Not just slugging, taking pitches, not striking out, and they're second in the SEC in league games in home runs hit. They hit. That's how you average just a shade under 10 runs per game in league play. A&M has played 14 games. In 7 of the 14, they have scored double-digit runs, 10 or more. And they have been held to 3 or less in 14 games one time. One time. Now, this is only half the story, but I'm telling you right now, this team can absolutely rake. Caden Sorrell is going to be a top 10 pick in the draft this year. He hits left-handed. He's a junior. In SEC play, he's hitting .355 with 6 homers. For the season, .368 with 17 big flies for Sorrell. Gavin Grahovic hits leadoff. He's right-handed. He was an awesome freshman 2 years ago when they went to the national final. He missed last year with an injury. In SEC play, he's hitting .364, 5 homers. He is really, really good. And it's not just those guys. They went and got Chris Akopian, one of the top transfer players in the country. They've got a freshman second baseman who's just ripping the ball. Bear Henderson plays catcher. And you might look at his statistics on the Jumbotron and go, well, he's hitting like 270. Who cares? His on base is over 500 because he walks and leads the team in hit by pitches. They're a machine offensively. No doubt. It is a talented team. Now you're looking at this going, what the heck, man? Or is this, this is a super negative segment. Like, we get it. They can hit. Yeah, they can hit. They don't pitch very well. This is the inverse of Ole Miss. Shane Sadeo is going to go tonight. He is their Friday night starter. He was a good pitcher on their team 2 years ago that was a national finalist. He missed last year with Tommy John. He's their Friday night guy. Well, what are his SEC numbers, Hunt? He's the Friday night guy. Well, he's 0-2, which doesn't mean a lot. His ERA is 9.39. 23 innings pitched, 39 hits in league play. 23 innings, 39 hits in SEC play. Opponents are hitting .375 off of Shane Sadeo. In 5 SEC starts, he's allowed 8 home runs. Vanderbilt hit 4 home runs off Shane Sadeo. But it should be noted that he gets a lot of strikeouts. Against Georgia, he struck out 11. He struck out 11 against Georgia, and it was not like he was out there a long time. He wasn't. He struck out 11, and he was only out there for 5 innings. He gave up 2 homers and 5 earned runs. Against Vanderbilt, another short outing, 5 innings. But he struck out 10. Gave up the 4 homers, 4 earned runs, 3 walks. The reason why Shane Sadeo misses so many bats and gets all those strikeouts and gives up a ton of home runs is because he loves to throw his slider. And his slider's not one of those tight, short sliders. His slider sweeps a lot left to right. He's a left-handed pitcher. And sometimes he hangs it. He leaves it up. And it's on plane, and guys just crush it. And that's going to be LSU's task tonight. You are not beating Texas A&M, despite Case and Evans being down. You're not winning the game 3-1. It's just not in the cards. You must beat Texas A&M 8-6. You have to beat them 11-10. That's how it has to happen. And Sadeo can allow for that. Tomorrow, you'll see their best arm, Aiden Sims. Right-handed, 6'2". It's the 3rd weekend in a row that LSU will see the most talented arm they see all weekend in the Saturday starting spot. You saw Tegan Coons against Tennessee, and he was relieved by Cam Appenzeller. And last week, you saw Cade Townsend on Saturday. This week, it's Aiden Sims. His SEC ERA is 5.33, y'all. It's not that good. Now, it's been better of late. Oklahoma wore him out in the opener. 2 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 8 runs, 6 earned. 6 earned runs in 2 2/3. Had 4 walks and gave up a homer in that game. Since then, in 4 starts, he has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in any of the 4 starts. But in 3 of the 4 starts, he has given up 3 earned runs. He's got a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He throws a little cutter that's like 89, and then he plays the curveball off of it, which is slower and deeper. But it's not great. And out of the bullpen, they got Weston Moss, who's a converted starter, who's got some pretty good stuff, and they like to get the ball to Clayton Freshcorn, who is a closer with average stuff. But they got 6 arms. That's really all they do. If you can get into their bullpen, get the starter out of the game early on Friday, get the starter out of the game early on Saturday. What they will have to do is make a decision if they're going to go to one of their 6 trusted arms or not, and maybe pitch down the staff, and hope the bats storm back in it. The roadmap here for LSU is very, very clear. You have to limit A&M's damage, first of all, by throwing it over the plate. They will take walks all day, and then they will be on base, and they will force you in the strike zone on 2-0 and 3-1 counts, and they will waylay you if you don't throw strikes and get ahead and force contact early in counts. You have to do that. And they're going to score some. They're going to hit some hard. They're going to hit some doubles. They're going to hit some homers. But don't give it to them. Don't give them walks. Don't give them 2-0 and 3-1 counts. And you've got good enough stuff at LSU where you're second in the SEC in league play and strikeouts, first in the SEC overall in strikeouts. You'll get some outs. And then you have to get into the bullpen and make Michael Early make decisions on who he wants to use. Because if you get to Sadeo for 4 or 5 runs by the third inning and Evans gets off to a decent start and you're up 5-1, well, Early can't go to Weston Moss. He can't go to Clayton Freshcorn. He's going to have to go down the line. This is what happened to LSU last week on Saturday in Oxford. You weren't going to go to Cowan with a deficit. You weren't going to go to Sheeran with a deficit. You pitched down the line. You got crushed. That can happen to A&M staff, but they're always coming. In this weekend, in this series, no matter who is down 4 or 5 runs, they are not dead. We have seen LSU come back against mediocre pitching. There's a ton of it in that maroon dugout, a ton of mediocre pitching you can get to. And A&M is never cooked down 5. They're just not. They'll come get you. Now, look, they lost a series to Georgia. They gave up 11 home runs to Georgia and lost the series. They lost a series to Oklahoma. In that weekend, they gave up, let me see the number. They gave up 25 runs in 3 games to Oklahoma. So this is not an unbeatable A&M team. It's an elite offense. Very good. It's an average pitching staff, and you're at home. Your back's against the wall. So it's time now to figure something out. You got to go win some baseball games. LSU's good enough to play with Texas A&M. They're good enough to beat A&M. But if Evans goes out there and is spraying the fastball and gets behind and walks 2 guys and hits one, somebody's going to hit it off the scoreboard. Like, you can't play with fire like that. Tonight has to be the Kason Evans from Oklahoma in terms of stuff. You may not strike out 15. You may not last as long because A&M's lineup is way better than Oklahoma's. But you need to have that type of command and stuff to eat up some innings. That's what's got to happen. It's an A&M team that's riding high off last weekend. They stuck it to Schlossnagle, got a couple of wins, but in the course of those 2 wins, they didn't face Dylan Volantis. That was probably the X factor in the series, and he never got off the bench because they never played on Sunday. So it's a big weekend. I expect some big crowds. Weather should be good Friday and Saturday at the very least. And LSU's backs are against the wall. They're not toast. Everybody's gotten punched in the mouth in this league. Everybody's dropped the series. Most of the teams, I think 12 of the 16, have been swept. It's time to go out there and get one. Now, I'll leave you with this in this segment. We'll talk some football with Preston Guy. I told you last week on Friday, you better win tonight because Townsend's coming and Rabe's coming, and you're at a disadvantage in that ballpark against those talented arms. You better win Friday. And I believe that. And I tweeted it and I wrote about it. I don't feel that way today. I would like LSU to win tonight. I don't want to lose a 4th straight conference game. I don't want to fall to 6-10. That's not great. But you can beat them on Saturday with William Schmidt going against Aiden Sims and swinging the bat against A&M's bullpen, and you can win Sunday when A&M is TBA, maybe Weston Moss, maybe somebody else, and you'll either throw Zach Cowan as a starter or try to bullpen together today. But you can slug with them against that pitching staff. So, yeah, I'd like to win today. That'd be great. Be awesome start to the weekend. But it's not as dire as last weekend was. When I looked at those matchups on Saturday and Sunday, I went, I don't like it. And I don't love LSU's matchup against just about anybody in the SEC. I did my power rankings on Wednesday. I put LSU 14th. South Carolina and Missouri were the only teams I ranked behind them. That's the level of baseball I think they're playing right now. But I know what's in there, and I do know what they can do, and they can swing a little bit, and this A&M pitching staff's not very good. But just don't expect to go out there and win 3-1. I don't need to see any sack bunts. I don't need to see any trying to small ball anything together. You got to get into your cleats and slug the baseball with this team. And that's what LSU is going to have to do this weekend at the box. First pitch tonight is at 6 o'clock. If you want to listen to it, you can on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. I'll be on the call with Chris Blair. 5:30 pregame. Saturday's first pitch is at 7 o'clock, a late game on Saturday. 6:30 airtime over on Eagle. And then Monday you'll get your Sunday, you'll get your traditional afternoon start time. So we'll see how the weather cooperates on Sunday. But I'm looking forward to getting out in the box. It's been a minute since LSU played a home game at Alec Box. So we'll hope to see a bunch of y'all out there this evening. We'll talk more about LSU baseball in an hour. Travis Brown covers Texas A&M. He'll be with us to talk about the Aggies and kind of what their weekend was like last weekend and what to expect from this team coming in. And I got more as we move forward here on this Friday show. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. When we come back, let's talk some football with Preston Guy. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They bring you our opening drive each and every day, and they're right there for you on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. It might be a great weekend to get up there and take a test drive. Weather looks great tomorrow. Get up to St. Francisville. See them. Check out the inventory online at fabrychevrolet.com. Take the quick drive up to St. Francisville on Highway 61. Pop in, say hey. You're going to be greeted with a warm smile, wonderful customer service, a great buying experience, as you've had with the Fabry family for 35 years in Baton Rouge. You understand what you're getting when you do business with the Fabry family. They're thrilled to have this new point as of October 1st on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Looking for an SUV, Tahoes, Suburbans, they're all there. Yukons, Denali's, they're all there as well. So make that short drive to St. Francisville. Check them out on Highway 61 or check them out online, fabrychevrolet.com, fabrychevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Pop in and see them. Government between Foster and Jefferson. You can always check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Got big old platters if you're looking to feed a group, maybe a family reunion, a birthday party, graduation parties are coming up as well. Cork's happy to feed a ton of folks. Get you a big tray of that crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, shoestring fries, honey butter rolls, coleslaw, all the sauces your heart desires as well. Again, Government between Foster and Jefferson. You can check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. All right, Preston Guy with us, TigerBait.com, talking Tiger football every single Friday. Preston, how are you?
How's it going? We'll be back in Tiger Stadium tomorrow, so I guess I'll be doing all right.
We will. We'll be checking out a lot. Lane's given us a lot more access than I actually anticipated, which is welcome. As I've said many times, he's under no obligation to do so, but it certainly helps us, and I think it helps the fans get a little feel on the pulse of things. We got a good look last Saturday in the morning as well. Give me your thoughts, not just Saturday, because I think everyone's aware that didn't go great for the offense, but of the two quarterbacks who were getting the lion's share of the reps with Sam Leavitt on the sidelines all spring long.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that I was taken aback by, other than the offense being so far behind the defense, was that Hussam Longstreet had a notable advantage over Landon Clark. I thought they were pretty dead even, and maybe Landon Clark might be a little bit better, but then I chart the plays, and I'm looking at Hussam Longstreet, 20 of 34 for 315, two tutties, two interceptions, and Landon Clark, 14 of 27 for 161 touchdown and three interceptions. And notably, most of these five interceptions were pretty ugly. Maybe Sans the deep ball to Aiden Manning, where he just went up and took it from the receiver. That was from Hussam Longstreet.
Yeah.
So that caught me off guard, like how much better Hussam Longstreet looked than Landon Clark. Obviously, there's a lot of time. I get the best look at these quarterbacks. I mean, I feel like they all look good throwing against the air. They all look good in one-on-one matchups, right? It's once you see how they read the field and step back there and adjust to, pressure coming, you really get a good feel for it. So, yeah, that gave me a little off guard just how far ahead Hussam Longstreet was over. And neither one of them were particularly great. I mean, look at those touchdown-interception ratios. Also, 315 sounds like a lot of yards until you note that, I gave 90 yards to Winnie Watkins on a deep ball, and that was 34 passes. I mean, they gave us 124 plays on set.
Yeah, it was. I felt like we were in there forever. I really did.
Did you get a little bored? I mean, my God, you think, man, we want access, and then you're like, oh boy.
Well, I mean, if you want full disclosure, I had my phone on watching the Masters a lot, so I didn't get too bored. So look, I had a thought, and I've watched a lot of practice, and you see sometimes things are breaking down. Landon Clark and Hussam Longstreet are running a lot in either drills, reps, whatever. We know that Leavitt's coming off the injury. Do you expect that to be a big part of LSU's offense, the quarterback ground game? Because Leavitt showed he could do it at Arizona State, but you've got to obviously weigh the injury factor.
Yeah, I think that if he's going to run this offense, he's going to have to run a good bit. And granted, Arizona State, one thing that always stands out to me, there was another LSU quarterback with this exact injury. Do you remember that?
It was Matt Monk.
Matt Monk, yeah, that's right. Now, in 2002, Matt Monk, he ran around a bunch. In 2003, after that injury, oh, yeah, it took something off of him. Now, he did develop as a better passer, and they won the national championship, so there's that. But I am curious to see just how well Sam Levitt recovers. I do know foot injuries can be tricky because it will heal, but sometimes the foot doesn't heal exactly the way it was before, and these guys run a little different. Maybe they lose a half step. Very interested to see what the impact of Sam Levitt's foot injury will be because, as we saw from this offense, I mean, your quarterbacks were, really the majority of your running game, but they certainly didn't. None of the running backs ran the ball with any consistency. I charted it at about 3.8 yards per carry. That's after the quarterback scrambles were accounted for. So, they're going to need that ground element. Just look at the Ole Miss offense over the years, and really the majority of Lane Kiffin's modern offenses.
Yeah, I've looked at the running backs. Obviously, Dylan Jones has gotten a lot of pub for his emergence, and you know what you've got in Barry and Durham. Like, how do you see that shaking out at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Jones has been taking a lot of one rep. I'm not overreacting to a handful of practices in spring. Harlem Berry's also looked really good catching the ball out of the backfield, which I imagine would be a big part of this Lane Kiffin offense. But I still look at Barry as probably the guy who's going to be the one. But look, don't sleep on Dylan Jones because he's showing out looking really sharp. And we saw last year, I mean, Keyshawn Lacey came out of nowhere.
Right.
I mean, he got like 19 carries from Missouri before he transferred there. And they were not afraid to put him out there. And now he's looking like college football's best running back next year. So they're not afraid to do any of that. I'm not at the point where I'm declaring him your number one or maybe even your number two at this point. But it's nothing but a good sign to see a guy like that emerge the way he's emerged this spring.
And it wasn't like Quinshawn Judkins was a household name when he showed up in Oxford either on the recruiting circuit, and they turned him into a damn fine back as well. So at wide receiver, there's 100 of them. Anybody that you're that's catching your eye?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of guys, like one day it's Roman Mothershed who's really standing out, and that was a guy who we maybe expected to compete for like second string reps, and he's got a lot of size, and he's showing a lot of ball skills. Trey Wilson, the Florida transfer, that's a guy who has really looked smooth, particularly this week in practice. That's a guy who you really like to see step up. Malik Elzy in practice this week, the transfer from Illinois, looked really sharp out there. But, I mean, on paper, the scrimmage, there wasn't those guys really standing out. I mean, Roman Mothershed did, but Winnie Watkins, I think, has an upper hand because he's very familiar with this offensive system. That's why he had 8 catches on Saturday for 148. That includes the 90 I gave him. Trey'Dez Green is another guy where I don't know if they're going to target him quite deep a ton, but they're going to target him a lot. I think he had, 6 for 64 yards this weekend. So I don't know that any of these receivers have separated themselves from the pack yet. I think it's a lot of good guys. I don't know. And another element there is you don't even have your starting quarterback yet, so you don't even get to see who has best chemistry with Sam Levitt. It might be something as simple as that, the chemistry that sets these guys apart from the rest.
And then up front, the offensive line's kind of the other part. If we remove tight end and just kind of stick with Trey'Dez Green, like how do you feel about Bordelon being inserted there at left guard and how that group has performed in no tackle drills as we understand?
I definitely like Bo Bordelon as a guard. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold on to it. I mean, again, Lane Kiffin has come out and said, this changes day to day. I also wonder if I think there's 3 fixtures on this offensive line. I think Malio Ba is going to be your right guard. I think Jordan Seaton, plug and play at left tackle. And then Braylon Moore is your center. I think it's those other 2 spots. They may tweak around and see what is the best unit. It's not even necessarily like who is your best right tackle, but maybe who compliments Baugh next to him, right? Who compliments Jordan Seaton the best? Who's the best fit? I do like that a local guy, Bo Bordelon, has held on to that spot. I wouldn't write it in with 10 yet, is what I'm getting at, because you got a lot of guys. I'm not sure that any of them necessarily will separate themselves from the pack. It's still early. Let's give it some time and see how that plays out on those two spots.
Do you have a sense of who might compete with Weston Davis at right tackle? Or are you thinking Darren Stray? Are you looking at potentially Devin Harper moving from guard out there? Like, what's your thought on who could potentially give some competition to Davis?
Yeah, that's a big question there. I don't even know necessarily who would be the tightest to him for that competition. But yeah, Stray, the guy, you figure he's 6'7", but again, young guy. Solomon Thomas is a guy you figure would play guard, but we haven't really seen much of any of him at all. If he's going to come back and have an impact, we don't really know. I mean, you got to think about guys like Satterwhite. The answer to the question is, I don't even know who's truly competing with him for those right tackle reps. It might not be the guy running with the twos, if you get what I'm saying. They might have a creative solution. Right now, all of those one reps have gone to Weston Davis right now.
They certainly have. We'll see you inside Tiger Stadium tomorrow, Preston. Thanks, man.
All right, Hunt. See you then.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us on Fridays talking LSU football. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. We'll step aside when we come back. A little basketball transfer portal news and kind of an update on where things are trending. We'll talk about that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gotro's Outdoor Power. Gotro's Outdoor Power. I was talking with Gant Gotro earlier today. They had an awesome month of March. Appreciate y'all for stopping by Gotro's Outdoor Power and seeing them. But a lot of the deals that they had during their March Madness are still there. If you show up now in the middle of April, you're talking about up to $350 off their Raptor series, up to $550 off of their Fast Track series. You can get great deals at Gotro's Outdoor Power. 2 different locations, one on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, one in Gonzales. You can also check them out online at GoTrosOnline.com. They've got delivery options for you if you don't have a trailer, but you want to get that zero-turn mower to maintain that property or big yard that you've got, and then get you behind the wheel for $100 a month of a Raptor. Family owned and operated more than 2 decades. Gotro's Outdoor Power. Find them online, GoTrosOnline.com. Gotro's Outdoor Power.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Remind you about my friend Jonathan Carbo and the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at HighlandIG.com. That's HighlandIG.com. The time to deal with your property insurance is not when the hurricane shows up in the Gulf. It's the middle of April. We know by the time June and July certainly roll around that things can start popping up. Make sure that you're taken care of right now, because the last thing you want to do as a business owner is look up, see a big hurricane out there and go, oh, are we covered for this? What if we can't work for a week? What if we lose power for a week and can't work? What if there's a significant damage to our building and we can't use it for a little bit? Are you covered? How'd your building get evaluated? Where did you come up with that business interruption limit? Do you have that coverage? If you just looked at the premium when you renewed, you may not know. The Highland Insurance Group is always going to take premium very, very seriously. They understand how important that is to the bottom line of all of their clients. But they also want to make sure that you're covered, because the last thing you want to do is pay for insurance and then not have it cover you when you need it. In hurricane season in this part of the world, unfortunately, we've got to deal with that. So if you don't quite know what your property policy says today, reach out to Jonathan Carver and the Howard Insurance Group and let them make sure you're properly prepared for storm season, which is, of course, on the horizon here. Moving forward here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, we're going to talk some basketball. But, Jordan, I got to ask you a question. You walked in the studio about 35 minutes ago, and you had a huge box with you.
I did.
What is in that?
It's a birthday cake.
Is it your birthday?
No, my birthday's in 2 weeks. Yes, my birthday's in 2 weeks. No, it's not my birthday today, but
Lady Jag, our receptionist, has procured you a birthday cake.
Yes.
2 weeks in advance of your birthday.
2 weeks in advance, and honestly, like, I kind of would rather, I guess you could say better late than never,
Better 2 weeks early than never.
because 2 weeks
Did
later.
she tell you she was going to do this?
No, so I walked into the second floor. I'm getting ready to start my day. I walk in and I look at my chair and there's a cake sitting there. And as I walk in and I see this cake, Cade comes out the back. So I turn around and I see Cade. Cade walks in right as I walk in there. I'm like, hey, Cade, is it a surprise?
It feels like candid camera. Somebody gives you a
Literally,
cake. I'm like,
I turn around and Cade's right there in my face. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, Cade? You leave this cake for me? He's like, nah, man, no. And I'm like, but we playing like Scooby-Doo. We're just tossing ideas out, trying to figure out who left this cake.
Lady Jag,
Lady
2 weeks
Jag.
early with the birthday gift. You got to love that.
I love it, man.
Love it on a Friday. Bring that on home and knock it out over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it.
All right. Let's talk a little basketball. We got transfer portal news today. Everybody's been looking all week. Transfer portal. We got some news. It's just not what we thought. Jalen Reese has jumped in the transfer portal, the last remaining player from LSU's basketball team in 2025-2026. He's jumped in the portal. And this is certainly not unexpected. You've got a situation where you've got a coaching change and the entire roster has moved out the door except Reese. And you figure that was probably coming in the same way that Matt McMahon inherited 0. Right now, Will Wade's got 0. Now, Matt McMahon did get Imani Wilkinson back, and there's a possibility that Jalen Reese does come back. I would put it at less than 50%, but it's not 0. And I look at Jalen Reese, and that's a guy I would kind of like to keep around if possible. I don't know that Jalen Reese is my starting point guard on a team that makes the tournament and maybe wins a game or two. But you're talking about a guy who was thrust into action because De'Don Thomas got hurt. And he played 31 minutes a game in league play. He averaged 7 points and 4.5 assists. He had a game against Ole Miss where he had 11 points and 10 assists. And then something that I noticed late in the season, I don't know that I charted it because we weren't really talking about it much because, why would we talk about it? The team's atrocious. He shot 42% from three-point range in the last 7 regular season games. In November and December, he was a bad shooter. I mean, it's not a pretty looking shot, and he wasn't making anything. And he worked, and he played more, and he started knocking down shots, and he was making 2, 3, 4 threes in all the league games, playing against really good point guards as a true freshman. So that's a guy who's got a quickness to him, the ability to handle the ball. He really distributes well, and I like the way he shot it late. I think he's a really good backup point guard as a freshman last year and is probably a sophomore next year. You want to start by the time you're a junior and a senior, and perhaps he grows into that. I mean, he's got a pretty good skill set, but that's a guy that I would like to keep around. I will say the same thing right now that I said this time last year with Matt McMahon. That team went 3-15. They both did, but 2 years ago, I wasn't pouting when anybody left. People were like, oh, Corey Chess can really rebound. I'm like, he can rebound, but he was on a 3-15 team. Rip it to the studs. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to complain about it. And I feel the same way about this team. They went 3-15. I'm not going to go nuts because anyone transfers out. But Reese is a guy I would like to potentially keep around, and I think that door is open. Again, I would not call it a 50-50 shot, but Jerry Tipton from On 3 said there's a possibility he could come back, and I echo that. Now, for the part that y'all are more concerned about, not the guys leaving, the guys coming in, it's surprising to me that LSU has not secured a public commitment. That's surprising to me. I figure Will Wade coming in with the funds he needs necessary and no tournament to worry about, really locked in on what he's trying to do in the transfer portal, and the fact that he left one team. Usually when a coach leaves a spot, he brings a player or 4 with him. That's just normal in every sport. There are Virginia players at Mississippi State with Brian O'Connor. I mean, in baseball, you leave a place, LSU gets Prince William and LSU gets Devin Harper and gets Winnie Watkins. I would figure somebody from North Carolina State would have hopped in and come down to Baton Rouge. But nothing has been public to this point. I had a conversation with a source yesterday that said, yeah, there are a lot of Zoom conversations going on. A lot of Zoom conversations going on. And that's what I think a lot of these players and representation are spending a lot of time doing. It's just not realistic for everyone to jet set everywhere all the time. If you're a quarterback who is about to make $5 million, yeah, you can fly to College Station, then to Baton Rouge, then to Knoxville, then to Miami, and figure it out. You're a basketball player. Like, I don't think it's quite like that from a courting perspective. So I'm not concerned at this point. I am surprised nothing has happened, but you're going to have to get 13 players from right now. 13 guys. LSU does not have a signing class in high school, and they don't have a returning player now. So 13 guys are going to have to come from the transfer portal. And based on the read I've gotten, it sounds like there's not a lot of panic over there at LSU. Sounds like it's business as usual. Sounds like it's a bunch of guys who have worked this before from different angles. Rick Stansbury has done this at Memphis. Will Wade has done this at LSU, McNeese, and NC State. Johnny Jones has done this at Texas Southern. And Damon Stoudemire has done this at Georgia Tech. So they understand the landscape. They understand the agents. They've got relationships. They're having conversations. You just don't have anything that's set in stone and public. So I want that too. I'm ready for that. I'm excited to kind of look at what the team might look like. I think there's less buzz today than there was 2.5 weeks ago about LSU basketball. I think that's pretty natural. But you kind of thought it would be a deal where Wade would be announced, the portal opened the next week, you get 5 or 6 guys coming in, boom, 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 and you'd really have a lot of buzz. And that buzz is like completely subsided because you've got spring football practicing in Tiger Stadium. You've got practice reports 3 times a week. You've got baseball playing 4 games a week. Like, there's a lot going on. Gymnastics in the national final. And so basketball just kind of slipped away. I think there will be a flurry at some point, and you'll catch a little bit of buzz depending on where these guys come from and what the names look like. But right now, it just kind of feels very, very quiet at the moment. And I just don't anticipate that's going to last a long time. Will Wade is never one to get flustered. You're talking about a guy that I watched in the midst of an FBI and NCAA investigation for like 4 years just pop up and kind of look jovial and happy-go-lucky. So that's like that's the front you're going to get no matter how things are going behind closed doors. I understand that. So I just kind of thought I'd try to take a peek behind those closed doors. And the sense I get is, hey, everything's good. You're not hearing about a lot of visitors to Baton Rouge. You're not hearing a lot about Will Wade hopping on planes and going all over the place like you were Lane Kiffin. It's quiet, but that's a kind of like a duck's feet under the water, you know, where the duck's sitting up there and looks like it's not moving, just kind of drifting, and those feet are going 100 miles an hour. Things are happening over there. It's just not producing massive results publicly at this point. I'll make another proclamation. I've been wrong like twice, so why not throw another one against the wall? By this time next week, you'll have some news. That's not going out on a limb. I'm not proclaiming I'm going out on a limb on that, but it's been a slow-moving portal cycle. There are some blue bloods in this sport that have not made waves at this juncture because guys are being patient. They're taking their time. You can't let all the money dry up, but you can create a bidding war. And right now, if you're looking at that, if that clock, you're in the bidding war stage. You're not in the money's running out stage. There comes a point where that happens. It's like that in NFL free agency. Like, you got to get out there and get it while it's still there. And if you wait a lot longer, all of a sudden there's not a lot of money there. Cam Jordan's in that spot right now. You're not at that spot in college basketball. And I think LSU is going to be okay here. I can never proclaim like great things or awful things, but I think LSU is going to be in a pretty good spot, and they've got a plan here. So we'll see. Jalen Reese decides to move on. That means LSU, no returning players potentially on next year's roster from the McMahon era into Wade era number 2. Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. There is something going on right now in the world of sports that you're probably not aware of. You might be, but you're probably not. You've got to find this cool. You've got to hear what I have to say. We'll do it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. FABT.com. FABT.com. They started up in 1910, y'all. That's 116 years ago. And they've done nothing but grow, plant their roots here in Southeast Louisiana, and serve this community. 25 locations in Southeast Louisiana, whether you're on the I-12 corridor in St. Tammany or Tangipahoa, maybe down the bayou, St. James, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne. Maybe you're right here near Baton Rouge in Dutchtown or Jones Creek, even down in Metairie. They've got branches all over the place, and every single decision that is made by First American Bank and Trust is made locally in Southeast Louisiana. Doesn't it feel good to know that your commercial loan is being approved or looked at by people that are in your community? Not somebody that just looks at you as a line item, someone who goes to church with you. That's the beauty of banking local. And don't think, well, I'm banking local, they don't have the resources to help. No, they do. 25 locations, they got it. It's First American Bank and Trust. Find them online, FABT.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Called the good folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services this morning. Who'd I get? Neil Boudreaux. Been running it for 40 years. Why wouldn't he answer? I talked to Melissa as well, his wife. They've been at it for 40 years at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Look, hurricane season is around the corner. Now is the time to make a phone call and get that Generac home standby generator installed. Just gives you the peace of mind. Whether you're riding out a hurricane, the power's not going to go out, but we've all left for a hurricane and come back to a house that had no power. And it's 97 degrees in there, and you got to throw everything out of the fridge, and it smells atrocious, and it's just no way to live. It's awful. So go ahead and get that Generac home standby generator installed today so you don't have to deal with all that during hurricane season. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. You can also call the Gonzales location at 225-300-9389. That's 225-300-9389. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. All right, there is something going on in professional baseball that you may not have been paying attention to, because I just don't think that most of our listening audience is watching a lot of Padres baseball. But you are now in a time where, maybe not witnessing, but in a time where the most unhittable force in the history of baseball is pitching. And it's remarkable to look at the statistics. Most of you listening at this point now are of the age demographic where you had video games at some point in your life. Most of you. Not all, but most of you. And you would create a player, right? And just dominate. Whether it was an NBA Jam guy or somebody on a soccer game or a football player that's 6'10" and 400 pounds and runs a 4.2 40, or a baseball player that throws 1 billion miles an hour that nobody can hit. Mason Miller is that guy. Mason Miller has struck out 20 of the last 23 men he has faced. He has struck out 30 of the last 38 men he has faced. 40 of 55, 50 of 70, 60 of 89, 70 of 105, and 80 of 135. No MLB pitcher in the last 50 years has matched any of those stretches at any point. He has done them all. This is a guy that throws, he sits at about 101, 102. He tops 104. And he has great control, doesn't walk people, and has a nasty slider. When you dig in against Mason Miller, you get 102 where he wants it with a slider. It's unhittable by the human eye. It's unhittable by the human eye. No one can do it. He has struck out 20 of 23 big leaguers.
Hunt, yesterday he threw a 96-mile-per-hour changeup.
Listen to this number from Paul Hembekides. Now, this is not one that everyone will understand because this is an advanced analytic, but I'll try to help you. ERA plus, if you are exactly average, you're 100. So if you're 25% below average, you're a 75 ERA plus, which is not great. If you're a 125 ERA plus, that's very good. 125 ERA plus is a very good pitcher. In his last 31 appearances, Mason Miller's ERA plus, keep in mind 125 is good, is 780. 780.
Wait. 125 is good. That's good.
He's 780.
And how is that possible? What's the number two? Is any, like who's close?
Hembo came up with this. He's the stats guy for ESPN. I'm just reading tweets.
I'm about to say, how is that possible?
The Cubs played the Padres last year in the playoffs. And I told my dad, who doesn't watch the Cubs all year, but if they get in the playoffs, it's always like he'll watch them. And I said, here's the deal. Like, we have to get ahead because when Miller pitches, and it's only like 3, 4, 5 hitters, he never goes like 3 innings. He comes in and lets it eat. But when he's in the game, you can't score. It's not possible. It's a 3-game series, and he's going to pitch like 3 or 4 innings. You cannot score. So you have to hit anybody. He is the most unhittable force in the history of baseball. I don't know how anyone could even debate it. I'm not going to call him the best pitcher ever because he can only pitch 4 innings a week. So you'd rather have a starting pitcher that go out there and win the game with 7 strong. But my God, I mean, you can't 20 out of 23 big leaguers. That seems impossible. No,
he's eating on my fantasy baseball team right now. Currently, Mason Miller. I mean, and have you seen his come out song?
Yeah.
Oh, to Corn. Like it's this guy is electric. Like you thought the little DS thing with the da, 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 you thought that was cool. Nah, when you hear that, are you ready?
You just always feel like we're bending the like laws of physics with athletes and how good they can really get. But from 60 feet 6 inches, there's nothing you can do.
Nope.
You just have to get lucky and get the ball. I mean, these numbers, like striking out 40 out of 55 big leaguers. There's a reason no one's done it in 50 years. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So again, we're not here to cover Major League Baseball on a daily basis. But when I see something like that and it's a Friday, I'll throw it in there for the last 5 minutes of the segment. Mason Miller, check out some YouTube highlights. I just don't want to see. Well, the Cubs got to get into playoffs. They're all hurt, but I just don't want to see him ever. Hour 2 is coming up. We'll talk some football, and then we'll talk baseball with Travis Brown next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. FabryChevrolet.com is the website. FabryChevrolet.com. You know, we kind of live in an online purchase world, right? You can buy just about everything online. So if you're uncomfortable heading on to the lot, I get it. Like, you shouldn't feel that way with the folks at Fabry, but you may have had an uncomfortable situation at a different dealership at a different time, and you'd rather just at the comfort of your own home survey things. Well, go to FabryChevrolet.com. The entire inventory of Chevrolets and GMCs is on the lot. It's right there online. So you can look at the deals, you can see the features of the vehicles, and kind of get a sense for what you want. And then I just highly recommend you make the short drive over to St. Francisville, whether you're in Baton Rouge, north of town, in Zachary or Baker up in Scotlandville. Maybe you're over in Point Capee Parish or the Felicianas. Just make that short trip over to Fabry Chevrolet GMC and take a test drive for yourself. Feel that customer service difference at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. The entire inventory is online at FabryChevrolet.com.